Hello, everyone out there in listener land. It is Greg Unchained from the B Plus podcast here. Just a quick reminder to you that we have launched a Patreon. Episodes like this one, bonus episodes, will be able to be heard 1 week earlier. So what you're about to listen to, you could have heard this a week ago if you were a patron on our Patreon page. So please, if you like what we do, and if you want to stay up to date, join the community, jump on call-in shows, tell us what you want us to talk about. I mean, you can do that anyway on Twitter and what have you, but, you know, in a super producer role where you are guaranteed to get custom episodes every month, if you want these sorts of things, you need to head over to our Patreon. It is patreon.com/theb+. As low as every dollar helps. So as low as $1, you can help us out, help us grow the network, help us get new content, get new gear, get on YouTube, all that sort of stuff for as little as $1 a month. It's up to you how much you want to give us. But there's all sorts of really cool rewards, and we're planning to come up with new ones as well. So shoot us a message if there's a reward you'd like to see. But in the meantime, it is patreon.com/theb+.
Now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
You might not be an A, but you are a B+.
Check it out. Here we go. You wanna mess with us? 'Cause we're steady on the ground.
All right, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends, welcome to the B Plus podcast. Today is a day, and you know what that means. It's time for our Patreon bonus call-in show. Joining me, as she always does for these wonderful episodes, Danders Xeris Targaryen. How are you, Danders?
Rakaris, my friends. I'm living large. How are you?
I am well. Well, I'd say I'm well, but I'm also like man-fluey as fuck and trying to keep up with Best of the Super Juniors, and there's so much going on. And then I accidentally watched Money in the Bank yesterday because I thought CJ wanted me on the podcast. And then I get to the podcast and you guys are like, oh, you joining the podcast with us? Oh, we didn't know. And I'm like, you mean I watched that shit for nothing?
If I have to watch it, you have to watch it.
Yeah, that's where we're at this point. After we went off, after we stopped rolling the tape and you left for, you know, to go to bed, I presume, because it was quite late when we finished.
At midnight, yes. When I left the podcast at midnight. Yep. Yeah. Proceed.
CJ said to me, he's just like, oh, I'm thinking we'll turn WWE podcast into a once a month thing where you and Danders just come on and just shit on WWE while I try to be a fan. And I was like, maybe. Maybe. No. I don't even want to commit to that at this point.
Yeah, it's a hard life at the moment. For what's meant to be fun.
It is. Well, let's do the fun stuff though, and let's bring in Jools. Jools, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's the story? How are we?
Yeah,
I'm well, Jools.
All right.
Have you recovered from what looked like a pretty large weekend?
No, I haven't recovered from what was a pretty large month.
I was gonna say it was more than a weekend.
The wrestling travel lifestyle is only sustainable for a period of time. So yeah, UK and back, and then like less than a day before Melbourne and back, and then a few days at work before Melbourne and back again. And yeah, I don't know what day of the week it is. It's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Oh.
So you started off. You went to the UK for Super Strong Style, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was going to be my kind of WrestleMania moment, I guess. I don't think I'll ever go to WrestleMania. And I think my experience of Super Showdown kind of was the final thing to say, nah, big stadium shows aren't really for me.
Yeah.
What if they did at Wembley? Would you go if they had one at Wembley?
Oh, nah. I just find that it's just too far away. And even though I was like, third row for Super Showdown, I just found the overall experience just left me really kind of empty. So yeah, I think I'll take Mania off the bucket list, keep Wrestle Kingdom on. But yeah, Super Strong Style was a big one for me. I really needed to go to. So
I feel like wrestling is best enjoyed with like a maximum of like 10,000 people.
Yeah,
maybe 12.
Oh, I love the Thornbury Theatre, so that sort of 700 crowd feels about right. I think the 1,500 or so, it was a big hall at Alexandra Palace, was maybe just a little bit too big acoustically. But yeah, put me in a 5 to 1,000 venue, and yeah, you can just really feel everything.
Yeah, for me, even like the MCW 100, the one that was at
Yeah.
the
The
aquatic center,
Yeah.
even though there was 1,000 people in there, so there was like close to twice the amount of normal people, because it was such a larger venue and there wasn't standing room. Like it was all kind of like, it was like a basketball stadium, so you've got like kind of bleacher things going on. You definitely lost an element of the intimacy that you do get at Thornbury Theatre.
Yeah,
I agree.
It came across on tape that way as well, and I think that anytime it's at a basketball arenas, I don't know, like it's great because it's a nice cheap venue that you can get big numbers in if you promote well. Look at PCW, for example, they packed 2,000 people into one, but it doesn't. And maybe 2,000 people would feel different, but yeah, when you're in a basketball arena with 1,400 people, it feels different. It definitely feels less intimate.
To it, like Thornbury Theatre, the fact that it's kind of a little bit old, like it's got like this gross old carpet, and then but like it's quite ornate on the I don't know my architecture words, but like it's pretty in an old sort of way. And I noticed that they actually finally patched up the dent in the wall that Evie / Dakota Kai left all those years ago. I just feel like, yeah, Thornbury Theatre is such a beautiful venue, and I'm gonna go on record and upset Big Boy Mikey and say that it's the best wrestling venue in Australia.
Oh, that's bold.
Oh, big claims.
And I say that having only gone to wrestling venues in Victoria and New South Wales.
Yeah. Well, see, I've been to a few. I obviously haven't been to Perth, Queensland. Queensland doesn't count. But the one that they're about to do in Darwin looks really good. I'm hoping to get up there. But I quite enjoy HQ in Adelaide and Max Watts because I like that sort of concert vibe. HQ's a little more slick and it's kind of like a dance club. And the lighting is super professional and stuff, whereas Max Watts is a little more grungy punk rock sort of stuff. So Max Watts is where I lean towards, but HQ is a good close second, followed by the Thornbury for me.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite about Max Watts. I feel like Max Watts is very like Simple Plan would play here, or like, and I like Simple Plan, but it's like a venue that Simple Plan would play at.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not going to be like somewhere. Yeah, I feel like it's very clean, and maybe it's because like there's only 2 rows or 3 rows of seating, and it's quite a new venue. Like it looks quite new.
Yeah.
Or very fancy. Whereas Thornbury Theatre, it's like you get a big crowd and your feet are sticking to the carpet. But yeah, everyone likes different things, which is why wrestling is such a diverse and beautiful community.
Yeah,
I kind of hope MCW doesn't run in the brewery again though, because that was a weird one, just a big empty shell of a building. That was
awesome on tape.
Yeah, and maybe it was awesome. I don't know. There was a lot of beer.
The part that was difficult was like I could see Jools was directly opposite me. Across the ring at the other side in the front row, and I'm like, Jools, and they'll like turn around and there's like people deep behind me, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go around and then go back 6 to 8 people to go find Jools. So I'm just like, yeah, I think it would be like a good one-off kind of thing. They did have portaloos, which I was not about, so yeah.
But they did have beer in shopping line up the bar. Shopping trolleys. So when there was like 100-person queue for the bar, they were going around with a shopping trolley full of ice and cans of beer, so you could just do mobile beer buying. That was great.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm all about that mobile purchasing. Like, I'm bummed out that they don't do it at the cinemas anymore. You know how they used to wheel in the cart with like the extra popcorn and stuff, so if you got in there and realized, oh crap, you know what, I really want some Starburst, you could go to that little cart thing, and they don't do that anymore, man. Cost cutting is the worst.
I don't remember that ever.
Really? Maybe that was just a here thing. They used to do that at like Hoyt's here and stuff.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember that ever.
Fair enough. But no, Jules, I saw you pop up on the Progress Twitter feed.
Yeah, that was as somebody who is kind of socially awkward. The amount of times I've seen my face over the last couple of weeks is a bit confronting. But yeah, we had the time of our lives. We were literally living our best life, and I think it was a hell of an experience. And Robbo was a big part of that. Standing up to Robbo it was so weird. Even at MCW last week, this guy just shouted at me, "It's the Progress guy," and I just sort of turned like crumpled into my own skin for a second, and then he was like, "Yeah, I saw you stand up to Robbo. It was really cool." And I was like, "Oh, it wasn't. I was actually terrified."
That's funny. So I haven't watched On Demand the Super Strong Style shows yet because, as I was saying at the top with Dan, is I'm sort of behind on things. Like trying to keep up with Super Juniors and everything can be Super Juniors and G1. They're the hardest times of the year. So it's sort of I'm a bit behind with Progress. I haven't watched the Super Strong Style shows, but you are actually on the shows themselves with your little confrontation that you had with Paul Robinson.
Yeah, look, I mean it's probably 10 hours in total, maybe 9 hours over 3 days. I definitely there's some shit hot wrestling in there. I think that without banging on about the matches, just in case for spoilers, but Jordan Devlin was amazing. Kyle Fletcher really stood out on his own. Session Moth Martina had an actual great wrestling match with Ginny. And Robbo himself had like 3 great matches. And I think if he was showing the promotions, he did an amazing job. And then, of course, the death match with Jimmy Havoc to round off Jimmy's career was the single grossest things I've ever seen, and I've seen some things, man.
So you've seen Avery at Wrestle Rock.
Well, yeah, I've seen myself at Wrestle Rock. It's I've seen some terrible things, but yeah, just the sheer amount of blood. It was pretty. So it's right up there. I've never seen somebody actually pour blood from their head like a tap, like not dripping, just a constant flow to the floor, and like congealed blood like swinging off his face and stuff.
Wow.
It was the sickest of the sick matches. So yeah, I think overall, look, it was what they don't tell you. It's basically a 3-day festival of drinking. So you have to really pace yourself because you have to get there kind of early because the are like rows 2 to 6 and it's all unallocated seating. So everybody's like queuing for hours before and then piling in. So it's a tough one. So, on the 3rd day, queued for like 3.5 hours before doors, and that's 2 hours before the show starts. So
right.
it's a tough old day, just to try and get sort of a decent seat. But once you're there, it's just this amazing, massive hangout area in a historic building with loads of food trucks and kind of AstroTurf and picnic tables and a couple of bars and a big old merch section. So yeah, it's got that kind of indoor festival vibe to it, which you don't really get when you see it on demand. So yeah, it was just a great place to hang out and meet wrestling fans from around the world. So that was super awesome. And I think in terms of the wrestling itself, you had guys like Artemis Spencer, who I didn't know previously, Canadian guy.
Yeah.
And he really broke out. You had Darga and Aerostar, who I wasn't too familiar with. And they were like Mexican strong style. So lots of, flippy shit and punchy kicky, but they were amazing.
Darga and Aerostar are both on Lucha Underground. So if you want to get more familiar with their stuff, Lucha Underground. Darga does his best stuff in Dragon Gate. More so than anywhere else. Like that's why he has that sort of strong style vibe about him mixed with the Lucha stuff, because he does work over in Dragon Gate as well. So Darga is someone who, if he's not picked up soon by one of the majors, I feel like we say that about a lot of people, but Darga has a lot of upside. But I think it's going to depend on his Lucha Underground contract, though, probably.
I gave up on Lucha Underground after like season 1, I think. But Darga gave himself a really nasty concussion within about the first 5 minutes that sent the crowd completely silent.
Ooh.
But then he carried on, and on Twitter the next day you could see like this massive purple lumpiness on his head. And I managed to have a chat with him because his English was great. And he said, look, I didn't fly 11 hours to like quit during a match just because I got a concussion, which kind of makes you cringe a bit.
Yeah, it's
But,
dangerous.
But what a guy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Well, it makes me
This
uncomfortable.
reminds me of, sorry, just like on that Game of Thrones theme. I imagine him being like Bran from Game of Thrones, being, why do you think I came all this way?
Yes. Yes. Let's stay away from Bran the Broken. Darga the Broken.
Yeah, but they were great though, and I think, you know, from a wrestling point of view, Martina and Paul Robinson, I think, will surprise a lot of people with their actual wrestling.
That's something really interesting about Martina when she was here. She did a couple of podcasts. So she was on Wide World of Wrestling. She also spoke to our friends over on the Turnbuckle, and something that came up was her ability to actually wrestle that people don't realize, because she goes to training and she's not, when you go to wrestling training, you're not practicing these wacky spots. That's something you come up with on the day, you know, of the show, when you're just sort of bantering back and forth with the person you're going to be in the match with. But she trains in chain wrestling, right? And it's something that you know, Jimmy Havoc surprised a lot of people with his ability to actually wrestle, because he was always just the deathmatch guy or whatever. And she talks about how, like, when she comes out to Australia, or when she goes somewhere new, so like when she's doing the stuff with Spring Break or whatever in America, when she's doing that stuff, she can still bust out the silly session moth spots, because she's still new to those audiences. But now in the UK and Ireland specifically, because they've seen her so much, she has to sort of, you know, she's still the character, but she has to actually wrestle in order to get the crowd to pop. And it's really interesting to hear. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that match now.
And especially with Ginny being a bit more of the women's wrestling scene in the UK now, and being trained by Jimmy Havoc. Yeah. It was a shock win, but it also felt like the right win, which is amazing. So yeah, she did really great. Again, on Robbo, we had a nice chat at merch on day one, and then you'll see on the footage he gives me a good old shove in the. It actually was like a Hadouken into the chest that I could still feel on day two. But I saw him afterwards, and he said, I saw you, and I thought, I can have him, and he'll be all right. And he did.
Yeah, he's a legitimate badass, that guy.
Oh, he's nails. So I was speaking to him. I was like, man, it would be so sick if you came over to Australia. And, oh, yeah. I tried to emigrate to New Zealand once, but they wouldn't let me because I've got a firearms charge. Yeah. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, he's a genuine hard man.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So
Kaiju Big Battle. So that was pretty outrageous after the main show. So where you had people like Chuck Mambo, Chris Brooks, Darby Allin, Lucky Kid in the costumes, it turned out afterwards. But that was just like, I think people went into there confused and curious about what Kaiju Big Battle was, and then left at the end of the night even more confused and possibly slightly aroused. It was just the most insane thing that I've ever seen, but I don't demand at all.
Yeah, Danders, are you familiar with Kaiju Big Battle? No? Okay.
I don't know any of the things that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, you knew some of the names in the Progress tournament.
I know Session Moth now.
Jules, do you care to explain what, for Danders and for any listeners who don't know, what exactly Kaiju Big Battle is?
Okay, so if you ever saw like Godzilla films, the old Japanese Godzilla films, where it's basically people in rubber outfits and like walking around stomping models of cities, it's like that in a wrestling ring.
Yeah, they actually have the cities, like they have like little cardboard built cities in a wrestling ring. So when you get suplexed from the top rope, you're getting suplexed onto a building.
And you have characters like Burger Bear, who's a massive foam cheeseburger, but he's got bear arms, and furry bear legs, and Dusto Bunny. It has to be completely insane. But it's basically an excuse for the wrestlers to have fun and dress up as characters.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the internet cutting out, or if Danders just did not pop for the fact that they're literally wrestling in little makeshift cities.
I did pop.
Okay, well, it was the internet then. It was the internet.
But what you might have liked though is that Aussie Open as a tag team, but as sexy cops. So you had Dunkzilla in this like crop top and like outfits. And they did a lot of fun gimmicks, like, you know, the referee got frozen so he couldn't move, and you know, it's very silly, almost DDT level fun and games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just really confusing and mental. But that was good.
Wrestling is at its
I'm
best
just
when
gonna-
superpowers are
exit.
involved.
I'm going to exit and come back in, and hopefully that fixes.
Oh,
I don't think it's going to fix anything, to be honest with you, because I'm hosting this and it's my internet that's a piece of crap at the moment. I'm in the wars with Telstra. So, fuck you, Telstra, who will never sponsor this show anyway, so I can safely say that. Fuck you in your stupid ass. Seriously. The stocks that my grandma got were not worth this shit.
that's it. Telstra on blast.
Yeah, good. Man, I wanted to cancel Telstra when they did the whole blocking 4chan thing after the New Zealand stuff that went down, and like I don't want to get into the debate of whether that's the right move or not. But I personally I'm not very pro censorship, and I'm not very pro anyone telling me what I can or can't look at. I don't want to look at that. But I don't want you saying you're not allowed to look at that. That makes me think you're an asshole. So I wanted, when they did that whole blocking things without anyone knowing, I wanted to cancel, and they were like, yeah, no, there's zero grounds for you to do that in your contract or whatever. And I'm like, you guys are real assholes.
No, and it's all good.
Yeah. That's...
So anyway, yeah, back to kind of progress. I think very quickly, one of the things that was really interesting is what they didn't show, and there was lots of like Easter eggs for those present. So when like Havoc and Haskins, Mandrews and Ligero did their tag match, after that was finished, they did this big like celebratory spot to Party Hard by Andrew WK, because that was the theme music for FSU when it was Mandrews and Eddie Dennis. And they basically did this whole 3-minute spot with like synchronized headbanging through the ropes and stuff, and it was just like an amazingly uplifting experience. And things like they let Jimmy Havoc come out to AFI on the last day, and Robert came out to his Scroobius Pip theme tune, but they overdubbed it for the on demand. So it's kind of like that's a real shame.
Legal reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
But the last, I thought they might have just had special dispensation for that one final match. Disappointed to see it overdubbed, but and I think they quite rightly cut out. There was a longer Jimmy Havoc promo at the end, so you'll see that he does do a promo after his last match, but he basically roasts Jimmy for his WWE job and says things like, do you actually live in Vince's anus? And when he was saying that, we were like, I don't think this is going to make it to the on-demand. And then finally for me, I think it was just good to see loads of other wrestlers just turning up to watch. So Pete Dunne was there, but was just like hanging out around the back quietly. Brian Pillman Jr. was there, just watching. Jack Sexsmith. And even during Kaiju, there were like 7 or 8 Lucha masks on, just having a good time. So yeah, it was like there was everything from technical masterclasses, no DQ fun, some strong women's matches, the bloodiest, goriest match I've ever seen, and meeting great people. It was just overall festival good about wrestling. You had technical masterclasses, you had great no DQ matches, strong women's matches, the goriest fucked up match I've ever seen, and it was just great to meet people like Jordan from Aussie Wrestling Gifts and just people that you see around Twitter, but it's just like, hey, you're that guy. That's really nice. So yeah, lovely community feel. So yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough.
That's awesome. I hope that PWA Coliseum becomes that for us. You know, meeting the people from Twitter. You're coming, right? I saw you said you mentioned that you booked your flights.
Yeah, I was surprised. I picked up front row tickets and they've been out for a while. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, I haven't bought my tickets to the show yet. That's I should probably get on that. But I got my flights when they had a big Jetstar sale. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, I got returned for $100 if you can believe it.
What?
Yeah, pretty stoked with that.
That shit is crazy. No, I'm coming over on Qantas points because I've made enough now, so I
Yeah,
get
well,
to,
I can imagine.
I get to fly like business for nothing, so that's going to be cool.
Yeah, all the traveling you do. We didn't even really touch on the MCW shows that you went to, really, which I know Danders would want to.
They
That's
def-
what I was hoping would be just people I know and stuff I know, but no, fucking talk about this big elaborate UK trip you went on. Fine.
MCW was also a thing.
Harajuku rumbles and shit, whatever.
Did you say Harajuku? It's kaiju.
Yeah, I went a little bit racist there. I apologize.
But how good Session Moth against Avery? That's a landmark match. I'm sure they do it in the UK as well. So it's going to be like, I think it's going to be like the I don't know, the Punk against Samoa Joe or the Brett versus Owen of our time.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be pretty special. That was a very enjoyable match. That was just like, wrestling is fun. This is fun.
it was fun. It definitely was fun, and I hope that since they're going to do it in the UK as well, I hope that they do more of the wrestling style, right? Like as I was talking about with Session Moth, how you know she likes to wrestle more in the UK because they've seen more of her wacky stuff already. So hopefully they because yeah, it was a good match, but like I said, it did rely on those Session Moth spots, which is good for us because we don't get them. But I think that their UK match will be next level. Yeah. But with that, I think we'll mute you, Jules, if that's right, and we're going to bring Chapo in. I probably should have done it with the PWA reference that I did. Now I'm meant to be king of the segue here. It's the man flu. It's fucking me up. Chapo, how you doing?
G'day, champions. How are we all?
Living large.
Living the dream, Danders.
Living medium.
Yeah, living
Well, that's
moderate.
disappointing. It's all about big boy season.
I know. Daniel and I are debating how much money he has to give me for like me to suck his dick, and we're not finding a middle ground here.
Wait, what?
Anything less than $250, and you're selling yourself
He
short.
offered me $10. I was like, "Go fuck yourself."
No, you don't. Anything less than $200, you're selling yourself short, mate.
I know. Well, I was like, "Well, for $10, you can have access to my unedited Instagram photos on Patreon."
Gotta get those plugs in. Plugs in. Just for context, I'm not going to ask you figures. Let's just say that Danders makes more than 10 times what the B Plus does.
I know.
Heinous background noise there. Where is that coming from?
Is it coming from me?
I think it's coming from you, my man.
Have you got,
Someone's
like, a
watching
TV
an
on in the
infamous.
back?
Have I got what?
Have you got a TV on in the background?
No, I have nothing on. I'm literally in my little studio that I've got.
That's a picture no one wanted, Greg. You have nothing on.
It's gone now anyway. Yes, I make 10 times. In the battle of the unemployed, I make 10 times what Greg does.
Hey, it's fun employed. I have things that I have to do, all right? I have responsibilities, Danders. But let's talk wrestling.
That's why it's called fun employed.
On my recent Brisbane trip, I made a donation to the local economy, should I say. Yeah.
To the local wrestling economy? We're here to talk wrestling.
Well, she was a good... Oh, no, this is an off-air conversation.
Yeah, that's for Dander's Patreon podcast, not the B Plus Patreon podcast. Once again, your money is apparently being spent in the wrong place.
Why not both?
Let's talk some graps.
Por qué no los dos?
Okay. One thing, Dan, is how can you say that Max Watts is not a good venue?
I didn't say it's not a good venue.
You said it's not as good as the MCW venue.
I think
Hello?
anytime that you have it, hello, yeah. I was waiting for that part in that Billie Eilish song where she's like, duh. I look, and maybe it's obviously going to have a little bit of a bias. To me, I feel like Swartz is like a party. It's like a party with like people like whatever, and Thornbury Theatre is just that sort of a bit more of an experience. I
enough.
feel it's just personal preference. It's personal, and I mean the crowd size is obviously going to be a big factor when you have 700 people versus 300 people.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like even the sold out Max Watch shows crowds are still smaller than the theatre shows.
yeah, I think that there's a lot that goes into it. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and everyone has their tastes, you know. But and I think a lot of it will have to do with, you know, I mean, obviously it's like a family. Like you're a PWA guy, right? Like that's your local. And so it feels like a family.
local.
And I grew up in Sydney, and so I have a kinship there as well. Like those are the wrestlers, like Bonza, Moretti, Shazza, Madison, Robbie. These are the wrestlers that I watched at little venues and things around the state. And so I have a kinship to those wrestlers and to the other fans who have bonded with those wrestlers. So for me, like Max Watts is the spiritual home of Australian wrestling for me as well. I'll say this: there are less what's the word I'm looking for? Abusive twats in the Max Watts crowd.
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's far less douchebags trying to get themselves over.
Yeah, and the crowd are far more respectful of women wrestling.
Absolutely.
It feels more inclusive and more of a family, even though it's not a family show.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is because, like, the thing is with these douchebags is that they are the minority, but they're a fucking vocal minority. So when you have twice as many people, you are going to have twice as many douchebags.
Yeah.
And there was only one at Thornbury Theatre on Saturday night, and he was fucking loud, and he was fucking obnoxious. He was saying awful things, particularly about female wrestlers. Like, I don't know how familiar you guys are with DCT, the Scottish guy.
Yes.
He kept being like, "Are you from Ireland or are you from England?" It's like, get it? 'Cause he's saying everywhere but Scotland.
Jesus.
Right. That's so witty.
And there's like times the one thing he said that made me laugh was he was like, I forget who his opponent was. He was like, "Do it, take his freedom." I was like, it's a Braveheart reference. That's kind of funny. But
you know what though? Watching the Thornbury Theatre crowd react to DCT on the Vimeo show, they gave him a "You're so pretty" chant, right?
It's very pretty, and
Yeah.
there was lots of "What's your conditioner?" chant going on.
But
as
it
well.
felt like they were giving him that as a heel chant, like they were making fun of him. And I'm like, that's the kind of chant that a PWA crowd would chant at Ricky South as a sign of adoration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the difference in the vibe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think that MCW definitely gets more into the heel and face of wrestling, whereas PWA is like, "You're a PWA wrestler, we love you."
There is a
which
lot
is
of that.
fair enough.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a lot of that. Like, you know, I mean, Jessica Troy is one of the Four Nations, but she gets cheered like she's a face, you know. But then there are heels in PWA that are treated very much like heels. Like you got your Unsocial Jordan, Maddie Wahlberg. They tend to respect that, although they've kind of switched now. But I feel like PWA wanted it to switch in the build up to the
I was
Wahlberg
like-
versus Ugg.
Got Unsocial Jordan, and I'm like, "Yep, that's it."
That's not
Unsocial
it.
Jordan
That's not it.
actively booed. Actively booed.
Like,
Well, at
doesn't have to
the-
seek out the booze.
Like the Wahlberg Ugg show, Ugg's usually massively over, but he got the shit booed out of him.
Yeah.
There was a massive sign that said the Wahlberg era has begun or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. But I think they wanted that to switch with the way they built up that match. They wanted Maddie to be the face in that match.
Here's the thing, and I'll say this again, and this is going to cop some massive heat. PWA do not build good stories.
I disagree.
They have good matches. They don't tell good stories. There's no, like, the build from this was not done through wrestling shows. It was done through social media.
Yeah, but that's still good. Like that's still good. That's still telling a story.
If you don't pay attention to social media, you shouldn't have to follow everyone on Facebook or Twitter or whatever to know what's going on.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree with that, Danders, because you had the whole Bonza versus Moretti thing, and that was an amazing story, and it wasn't done over social, a little bit on socials, but the majority of it was built over a year in the ring.
What was the story? These two guys won a tournament and now they face each other, even though they're the tag champs and they don't defend the tag belts.
No,
That
this-
is so no.
Oh,
No.
damn it, Danders.
As a tag team
Damn,
for the last
Yep.
however many years, there's been a tension between them probably over the last year and a half or so, right, Chapo?
Yeah, there's been a tension between them. And
Which
that
is
was
what?
a
Which is what, like
culmination
4
of that.
shows? That's like 4 shows?
No, Danders, you're being passive aggressive. This is not
Oh,
helpful.
this
This
is-
is where I start to get passionate.
I'm
Dan,
just
is it-
trolling.
I know, Danders, you're a damn good troll as well. You get me worked, man. You're working me into a shoot.
I agree that Bonzo and Moretti was amazing.
Mhm.
They're
Probably
telling the
the
story
only
with Shazza at the moment.
What's the story? That she doesn't ever defend her belt and now she's going to defend it and lose it.
That's part of the story, yeah. That she hasn't defended the belt in a while. She's not a real champion, and she'll never be a real champion until she holds the actual PWA title.
Yeah. So there's another storyline going.
You got TMDK versus the Nations. Is the story
got
that
the
they're
whole-
building at the moment.
You got the whole internal trouble with SMS.
They did a story for over a year where Robbie lost to Will Ospreay, and then the ghost of that loss was following him around. He was wrestling in venues where there were posters of Will Ospreay, and he just could not shake, and he went on a... He lost because he could not come back from that until he had put that ghost in his past, and then he conquered, and he overcame, and he defeated Will Ospreay, and he got that Japan flag, and now he's this conquering hero who, after defeating Will Ospreay, he's headed off to Japan, to Bowler, to become this massive international star carrying Australian wrestling on his back. And if you think they're not going to pay that off with some kind of I don't know if they could ever turn him into an arrogant heel, but if you think they're not going to pay that off with some kind of passing of the torch storyline eventually, you're an insane person. Don't they tell longer form stories and more subtle stories than anyone else in Australia?
Yeah, I agree.
You're gonna yawn at that? Oh man,
Oh,
I am so angry. I will commend MCW on the Gino and Sleck story, right? Absolutely. And some other stories too, but also I feel like MCW are a little more haphazard and sort of change things on the fly, which you got to do, and that sort of thing happens. But I don't know. I feel like PWA have more consistent long-term plans. That's how it seems to me, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Now, like we talked about that, I want to talk about Brock Lesnar's meme quality from today.
Boo, Brock Lesnar.
That was-
I haven't
that
watched
was
today's Raw, so...
Or is this a spoiler-free zone?
You can talk about it.
No,
I mean,
talk
this
about it.
for one won't go up for like a week, will it?
Yeah, this won't be available to the public for a week, yeah.
Okay. Well, him carrying that Money in the Bank briefcase was amazing. It made it look like he was listening to a boombox and shit. It was pure meme gold.
I've seen a couple of ones. I think Jay from Melbourne, he made it with Brock Lesnar with the Brat Pack theme song. That he's like doofing out to the Brat Pack theme song, which is pretty funny.
People
It'd be
got
better if it
hidden
was
stuff.
the
Him
Perea
listening-
theme song. Come on, guys.
There's one of him listening to the My Little Pony theme song, rocking out to it. But yeah, it was quality.
I
That's
can always
amazing.
appreciate when there's like shit bad stuff that's happened, as long as we get some memes out of it. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's like real life shit posting. That is.
Yeah. But did you know, so I've actually read this today, that the people who were in the Money in the Bank match didn't even know that Brock was involved.
Oh, Vince.
Yeah. They worked the
Vince at it
boys.
again.
So when we talked about Randy Orton's face when Brock Lesnar's music hit on the WWE podcast, when Brock Lesnar's music hit, like they were actually reacting to that, allegedly, according to PW Insider.
Who to them was going to win? Was it going to be the surprise entrant, whoever it be?
yeah,
who was going to win?
I guess that's what they knew. They knew that at the 11th hour there would be a surprise entrant who would come down, knock Ali off, and take the briefcase, but they didn't know who. And so that that eye roll, smile, laugh from Randy Orton is legitimately him being like, "Oh, of course, it's Brock."
Of course, here he is again. He's going to bust my head open again.
Because I swear to God, Randy Orton's face was my face, and I felt like Randy Orton was sitting there being like, I really thought it was going to be Bray. I thought it was. They worked me, the motherfuckers. Like, that's the face I felt like Randy Orton had. And he was also thinking in the back of his head, like, can I still jump ship to AEW? Is that a possibility?
No, they got too many old guys in AEW as it is.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't think that shit passes me by.
Too many old guys in AEW.
Yeah, Jericho and what's his name have a combined age of like 250.
Jericho and what's his name? Who?
Oh, fuck.
Christopher Daniels?
Yes. They have a combined age of like 250.
That's literally the only two old dudes.
Frankie Kazarian is no spring chicken.
The Young Bucks are definitely verging on the form of just being the Bucks.
Yeah, they're not young anymore.
You could probably change their name to the Bucks at this point.
The mid-30s Bucks.
No, because they're older, they should be the Stags because Bucks are young.
Yeah, but hang on, but
they're old now.
But mid-30s is like peak, right? Like, I mean, look at the guys in WWE now, right? AJ Styles didn't get there till he was 40. Samoa Joe didn't get there till he was verging on 40, right? Like, that's kind of the age now.
Yeah, but WWE gets...
Controversial opinion, AJ Styles isn't doing his best wrestling now.
WWE gets shit for having older guys in it, but it's okay for AEW to have older guys in it.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing: I don't see their guys as old. I mean, other than Christopher Daniels, yeah, I guess you're right with Frankie Kazarian. Other than Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Chris Jericho, but you do need some veterans around. Like, you need that.
Yeah,
but you look at the rest of their roster. You got MJF. You got Jungle Boy. You got names that people don't even know, right? Sheamus an older guy as well. Sheamus a bit of a veteran.
You have AWF champion, Seamer or whatever his name is, that Chinese dude.
Yeah, Shima. Yeah, he's Japanese.
The AWF champions in there now.
Yeah.
So, but they've got a roster with quite a few old guys on it, but they're not going to cop the same kind of crap that WWE are going to cop if they have, like, say, Hogan or Undertaker or whatever, Why is that okay for AEW but not okay for WWE?
There's a big difference between Hogan and Jericho. Like, Jericho is the Bowie of wrestling. Jericho reinvents himself constantly. He's always...
dead.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, though. He's always on the forefront, right? Like, he's always on the edge. He's not a hack has-been who has it. Like, WWE are promoting Goldberg versus Undertaker right now. Goldberg versus Undertaker.
I haven't seen that. That's a match I'd like to see. I have not seen that before.
You would rather see that match than Chris Jericho versus literally anyone.
Chris Jericho's had his day. It's time for him to focus on his Nickelback cover band.
I do not like Fozzy, so I'll allow that.
What is he? Is he he thinks he's a rock star, but no, thank you.
I don't know, man. I can't see it as the same. Like, it's not even remotely the same. And when you look at the AEW roster, man, some of the young guys that they've got on that roster, look, Sammy Guevara, like the people they're going to bring in from AAA and stuff, it's night and day. Like, complete night and day.
Are they going to bring in Sexy Star?
You know what? Here's the thing. You just want to be anti-AEW. You want to be. Because they were a t-shirt. You're not bringing up the fact that they've announced their TV deal, are you? Right? You were like, talk to me when... let's pull back. Let's roll the sound clip from a couple of months ago when you, on this very podcast, were like, oh yeah, talk to me when they have TV. It's not going to happen. They're a t-shirt company. Right?
They're still a t-shirt company.
I think it was more like talk to me when they've done a show.
Yes, this is correct.
But they do a show every week on the internet.
So?
And they're building better stories than WWE. They're building better stories than PWA, which are building better stories than MCW. Therefore, AEW own MCW. Boom. Sorry, I had to attack Danders a little there.
Please.
I'm rubber, you're glue,
You know-
babe.
No, but in
You
all
know what?
honesty, have you watched? You don't have to watch all of Being the Elite or all of Road to Double or Nothing or anything. But have
No,
you watched
I
their
don't
build?
watch Being Elite
Okay, but
because there's only one of them that's actually elite, and that's Kenny Omega. The rest are just hangers-ons.
okay, but have you watched the promos for the Dustin Rhodes Cody Rhodes match?
No, because it does not interest me, Gregory.
No, but that's the point. The promos are meant to make it interest you. Because if you say to me, "Oh, Cody versus Dustin," I'm like, don't really care. But when you show me what they have shown me, I'm more interested in that than anything in WWE that's not Daniel Bryan or Bray Wyatt or Kofi Kingston.
I
I'm more
imagine the
invested in
promos
Total
were just,
Flogs.
Yeah, Total Flogs fucking kills it.
Yes,
I
I'm
haven't
more
watched
invested in
episode 2
Total
yet.
Flogs. That's what I'm more invested in. You can have your Roads to Double or Nothing and your T-shirt companies and Chris Jericho this, Chris Jericho that. I'll have my Total Flog.
I love Total
I'll
Flogs.
support.
Don't get me wrong. But
Everyone was saying, AEW is going to employ all these Aussie wrestlers. Not one got employed.
it's early days, my friend. It is early days. And
So-
they've been here scouting. We know that.
It doesn't mean anything, Greg.
It doesn't mean anything.
Do you reckon
No,
Shaz is
'cause
going to
I'm
turn up?
I think she might.
No, she's coming back.
Yeah, she's coming back in June. She's definitely she's involved in an event at Starcast. She's in Las Vegas for the weekend. But I don't know if she's booked though. I don't. She told me she's not. She's like, I wish I was. But I thought she was fabing me. But there's been no announcement. So
Yeah, but no, I'm not too interested in Starcast, Double or Nothing. Yeah, that stuff does not interest me, my friend.
fair enough. No, well, that's it. Like each to their own. But I challenge you. Seriously, I challenge you to watch. I'll send you the links myself personally in chat. I'll shoot you the links to the Cody Rhodes, the Dustin Rhodes reveal and the Cody Rhodes promo, where they tell the story. They start it with Dustin being like, "Oh, it's brother versus brother, blah blah," and then Cody flips that on his head and he's like, "Brother versus brother." That's all just marketing bullshit. This is me wanting to kill the Attitude Era, right? When you watch those two promos back to back, tell me that it doesn't excite you and doesn't get you keen for the match.
The Attitude Era has been dead for years.
But no, it hasn't. Goldberg versus Undertaker.
That's in Saudi Arabia. That doesn't count.
What's in
They're still
Saudi
in the past
Arabia?
there. They're still in like the 1950s or 1940s with their fucking human rights over there.
What,
so.
what do they
Yeah.
think of us? Because when they came to Melbourne, we got DX versus Brothers of Destruction.
That is awesome.
It
Yeah,
really wasn't.
I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to see an Undertaker entrance and a Shawn Michaels entrance, and they gave me that. I literally did not watch the match, but
Yeah,
I got
the
the
match was-
entrances.
I just think that the Attitude Era needs to die. I think the ECW
It is
nostalgia
dead.
needs to die. It's not, though. It's not. People still talk about it. People still talk about wrestling was better when. No, it really wasn't. Wrestling is better now. Open your eyes.
Wrestling was bigger then.
Yeah, it was. But here's the thing. Everything was bigger in the 90s. Everything. Right?
Maybe you might.
The 90s was
Some
the
people-
peak of civilization.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I don't think
it
it
had
was.
some good stuff.
I don't think it was the peak necessarily as much as I think that the internet changed everything so much that now you can never achieve the level of mainstream popularity that you did back then because everything now is more niche. There's
Definitely don't get nostalgia like they used to.
yeah.
Joke. That's a joke.
Dander's knows.
I am stuck in the 90s. Like I listen to 90s pop daily. Daily.
Well, that's a good thing.
I'm not super into like 90s wrestling, but definitely like 99 to 2001 wrestling.
Yeah, well, and see, can you
Like-
imagine a group as mediocre as NSYNC being as popular as NSYNC ever again? It won't happen.
Yes, it's already happened.
I quit. I don't need your negativity. Take your fucking t-shirt company. I'm gonna go listen to. The thing I can't stand is
Hey,
that
Danders.
people who think
Bye.
the thing that no. The
Come
thing
on,
I can't
that's
stand
good.
is when people think that Bye 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 is a better song than It's Gonna Be Me. It's Gonna Be Me becomes a joke because everyone does that stupid joke every May.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
It's Gonna Be Me is a fucking banger, and Bye 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 is okay.
I was more into
Look,
5.
Oh,
fuck out of here with that nonsense. You know what? I like my metal, but I can appreciate NSYNC
Everyone can appreciate NSYNC.
because they gave us the wonder that is Justin Timberlake in his awesome career. I love Justin Timberlake's music. I'm not going to lie. I really do enjoy it.
I like his movies more. He was in that... What was
Should
that
we-
romantic comedy he was in with Mila Kunis?
I don't care about his movies. I'm talking about his
It was
music here,
like
fella.
No Strings Attached or No Strings Attached? No, Friends with Benefits.
Friends with Benefits. I
one.
love that movie, man. So
We should,
cliche.
we should wrap this up and then maybe take this off air so we can bring Jules into the conversation because he's probably sitting like, what the fuck, you guys? What the fuck?
Yeah.
All right, Danders, where can people find you?
You can find me on patreon.com/Rachel Danderfield, on Instagram at Rachel Danderfield, on Twitter at Danderfield, and please don't add me on Facebook because we're not friends.
I am Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit. The B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review if you like what we do. If you want to get in on these shows, jump on the Patreon, www.patreon.com/the B Plus. It's lots of fun. It's probably the highlight of our week here, yeah, Dander?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, get around it. And thank you so much for listening.